Harry Brown from King's College London is with us for more on this story. Now, a little more on Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, who stepped in as South Korea's acting president. He has vowed stability in the country. However, his tenure as acting president could also be threatened by a criminal investigation into his role in the martial law decision. Tell us more.
Yeah, the sad thing is that this is not an unusual occurrence in South Korea. The declaration of martial law obviously was extremely, kind of unprecedented. But in the last sort of 35 years, a number of President Yoon Suk Yeol's predecessors have also been, kind of prosecuted afterwards for corruption. And so there seems to be a sort of wider systemic issue. The Prime Minister, Han Duck-soo, who's been appointed now in interim, is also under, as you just said, investigation. And so you kind of really have to wonder whether there's something deeper and more systemic about, South Korean politics, the relationship between, kind of different cliques and elites and the ruling, kind of parties. It seems like it's almost a systemic issue, the fact that, a number of, the current incumbents' predecessors are also in jail, including President Park, who indeed President Yoon was the chief prosecutor for. So it's extremely, kind of worrying that a democracy like this has these systemic issues.
And South Korea held legislative elections in April. Is there a possibility of snap elections on the horizon?
And there's possibility. Obviously, we're in a kind of period of incredible change and flux. The fact is that the last elections were extremely negative for, the kind of impeached president. It's unlikely that he's going to get a very good, kind of the ruling party are going to get, or his party are going to get a very good result after all of this. You have to really wonder, though, who would put themselves forward in the record that I just talked about, where, kind of almost all the leaders end up in deep, deep trouble. There seems to be a kind of systemic issue, which I've alluded to before. We have to remember that South Korea is a really significant regional player. There are something like 35,000 American troops there. We're moving into a period where the Trump presidency from the 20th of January will create a lot of uncertainty and expectation that everyone will have to foot their own defense bills. South Korea is a major player. It's got major issues with the United States already. And this kind of uncertainty, when you think of the kind of issues in the region, the fact that North Korea is now more bellicose than it was a couple of years ago, it's all extremely destabilizing and concerning.
Speaking of North Korea, how are North Korea, China, and Russia viewing this political turmoil in the country, South Korea?
Well, I think that they just see it as systemic of, the fact that the political systems like that in South Korea are extremely, unstable, and that they're a bastion of stability at the moment. It could not be more ironic. The kind of North Korean leadership hasn't really had any good relations with the South Korean leadership under the President Trump. And so, kind of they would probably see this as, his just desserts. But the issue really is, as we go forward, that North Korea now is still obviously testing more advanced nuclear weapons. It's still supporting Russia in its war against Ukraine. It's still, kind of a really, really problematic kind of power in the region and threatening to do all sorts of things. And without a stable leadership in South Korea, that makes this situation even more difficult.
And Carrie, staying in the international outlook into this regional problem in South Korea, how is the U.S. viewing this political turmoil in the country?
Well, I think the U.S. must be very, very concerned at the moment. But as I said, the United States is moving into a period of transition where we don't really know what its foreign policy outlook will be like under President Trump from the 20th of January when he's inaugurated. His interest is really mostly about China. That's his complete focus, and everything is related to that. And he's also made it pretty clear that he's not happy about footing security bills. The fact that South Korea is a major security ally of the United States, but there's significant cost for the United States in having so many troops there. And the fact that, kind of North Korea is a major security issue, which Trump has dallied in the past, but is unlikely to want to go near again, means that in some ways South Korea is risking being isolated. The United States is not likely to want to commit to anything except its own interests under what's likely to be an extremely transactional and self-interested presidency.
Thank you, Carrie. That was Carrie Brown for us. We'll have more on this developing story.